Welcome to the great conversation where ideas matter. Ideas shape markets. Ideas change the world. Around the world, there are people who get the blessing of being multidimensional, the true liberal arts, understanding languages, cultures, as well as picking up experience from education, as well as actual practice. And to find someone in the risk resilient security industry who's taken that very thing and begins to explore what it is to be human, to understand humans, and intersecting that with security and risk postures is just fascinating. So we got a hold of one of the most influential people in security, Miranda Coppoolse. Miranda, great having you in the great conversation.
It's an honor to be here, Ron. Thank you so much.
I would love to explore. I'm somebody who likes to define terms. I would love to explore two words, human and behavior. Those two words, because much of what you do involves those two words together. But let's explore them individually, and then let's bring them together if you don't mind. It would be wonderful to get your views on the definition of those terms.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, to me, of course, it's my livelihood almost, and my passion, actually. I do that for almost 30 years, and it's just, I live it, I guess. To me, well, human is just, the person, flesh and blood and bones, and the behavior is due to how we grew up, our environment, our character. So that to me is a bit of like describing the two words.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So we've got a living being, and we acknowledge when we meet them in context. They've gone through a journey. They've been forming, if you will, who they are and were at that stage. And you're recognizing, though, what I love about your art and your science is you're recognizing, first and foremost, you lead with the term human. This is flesh and blood. This is someone we need to be empathetic about, care about, and then understand they got to where they are for a reason. Am I tapping into you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's truly about the human being, because otherwise it would be animal behavior, right? So it's truly about human and behavior. So whom are we as a person, and how do we treat each other? How have we become the person that we are now, and what can we become even through surrounding ourselves with other people, other challenges? So yeah.
What can we become? So if we start to look at human behavior analysis, one of your core disciplines, and we intersect that, again, like you say, with security and risk, how does the study of human behavior inform and infuse a great security and risk program?
How can I explain that best? I believe that we all, from our core, when we are born, are looking for safety. And some people are growing up in certain situations or certain environments that are not all that safe. And that can be a home, with parents or brothers, or maybe, if you, I don't know, grew up somewhere in a war zone, or you name it, anything that is not safe. That can be, a risk to you. And I believe that forms you. And I believe that, especially also within organizations, that is not always seen as most important, or a lot of people don't even understand really what security and the connection with an organization, for instance, is. So that's why I started MC Global Security, because I saw that that was missing. I saw a lot of people didn't understand people from other countries or from other situations. I also help a lot of victims, as you've probably seen. But also I help a lot of organizations, or talk to CEOs, C-suite, but also all the employees, really, to have them understand, like, what does security mean for you here right now at this moment, because the security at home can be something different from when you're outside walking in a city or traveling, as well as when you're working in an organization. So you have to distinguish those two, but they're all initially connected. There is always a basic that you have to learn and recognize, and some are born with it. They have like that sixth sense because they grew up in an environment that was already challenging, to say it the least, sometimes even dangerous. And some people don't have it because they grew up in a safe environment. But I believe we can all learn it, and with learning it, we can understand each other better, and all create a better environment, safer environment also.
That's actually beautiful. I want to make sure I really understand, because it was very powerful. You take what we said before, you take this aspect that people are formed, they go through experiences, and understanding and having empathy of how they were formed, studying the results of that formation in regards to behavior, can help security programs empathetically address risk of the people, and also help redirect their behavior if they do understand it. Am I catching that at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah. Because, what you don't know, you don't know. So if people tell you and explain it to you, you can create a certain empathy for it, but also a better understanding.
Yes.
Because if you, for instance, have never worked, and I keep that easy. If you've never worked for instance, a big organization, and you all of a sudden start working there, you have no clue about their security or how to be safe or what to be aware of. You have to learn that. And that's also what you have in life. And again, some people are born under pressure, let's say, and challenging circumstances, and some people have not. And the good thing about what I do is that everyone can learn it, and I don't bring people in certain situations that they are, being afraid or go crazy. I don't make it difficult. It's just an explanation.
Yes. And what I like about it too, because you speak to a lot of different groups.
Yeah.
What I love is the crossover too, because you mentioned this person possibly coming from a small organization entering a large organization. So again, what you do is, of course, central to your security and risk customers, but what you do is also good for the entire corporation. If leaders can understand behaviors, they can lead in a much more powerful way.
Absolutely. Yeah, because what I see, especially in bigger organizations, and it's almost like mirroring the world, right? Like every department is almost a different culture. And within those cultures, you have also certain cliques or groups. And how do you deal with that? And do you know really what's going on with your colleague? So that's already the basics. And where do you need to go? Where are the fire or emergency exits, if something happens? So it goes from really basic to really human interaction. And I believe that human interaction is really the key to everything, because you never know what is going on, for instance, with your colleague. Right. And as a CEO, you don't always know what's going on with all your employees, because usually you speak to a few of the managers and that's it. Right. So how do you get that interaction with your company, and how do you create a certain safety for your people?
What I also love about that, especially when you're talking to our security and risk peers, one of their greatest challenges over the last 25 years is speaking the language of the business. And let's go back to who you are: multiple languages, multiple cultures. And from your own experience, you can walk into an executive management team where the finance department, the supply chain department, the HR department, the sales department, the security department all have different cultures and even different languages. And you can help them bridge those things.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost try to become a team, try to understand each other, see what, the other person or the other department is taking, or it ticks, right? That I don't know, that they can see like, hey, that's interesting. That's what I have too, because there are so many things departments have in common, but they all think they are different and that they are having their own challenges, and they have till a certain extent. But that's why you hear a lot of times, and especially the last couple of years since the ESRM was also coming up, that we talk about silos. It was never really discussed before, and it's human behavior really helps to break those silos, also to learn about each other's department, to learn what your challenges are. And if you can combine, that fight against that challenge, not only your company becomes stronger, you get a better team building, but everybody knows a little bit of something, and you create with that a safer feeling, a safer environment for the people. They are heard, first of all, and that's really important because a lot of people don't feel heard. People want to have someone that they can go to and listen to and feel safe with, and that something will be done with their, well, let's say, problem. Sometimes it's not even a problem, but it becomes a problem because nothing is done about it. And so I always say, just start at the bottom and just listen to each other. Just start with just all being human beings, and listen to each other. Just know what you do.
I'm so glad you brought up what is often seen as a methodology, a practice, enterprise security risk management, ESRM.
Yeah.
I had a great conversation the other day with a gentleman by the name of Tim Wenzel from Facebook.
I know him. He's amazing.
And Tim was talking about ESRM as a leadership enablement tool. That is a chance to actually have a great conversation with your people and prepare them to be empowered and to take on tasks with a mindset of that empowerment, based on a inquisitive, curious, questioning kind of spirit. And you just nailed it a few minutes ago. You and Tim are on the same page, it sounds like.
Yes. Well, I truly believe that the ESRM surely helps, especially together, of course, with the services that I do, because it really touches each other. As a leader, and if you're going to start use the ESRM methodology, I almost wanted to say, you have to look into every aspect of your company. So you have to talk to every department, see what's important to them, and what needs to have maybe a higher risk rank or lower, and how do you solve that? How do you tackle that? How do you manage that? So yeah, it's certainly, I think it's a great new approach of risk, because a lot of people I hear always say, yeah, but we already do ERM. And I'm like, yeah, but that's different. That's mainly about how the NASDAQ did and how that influences your company, for instance. It's more like the financial risk, but ESRM is really about all the enterprise risk security aspects.
It's so funny you say that. I have run into pretty knowledgeable people in this area, and they want to argue, let's settle on one term. Let's settle on ERM. It's all encompassing. And then, of course, the SRM people are saying, wait just a second here. By doing that, you kind of boil the ocean when there's some very specific things we do in ESRM that are different than ERM. And I always say, let's stop arguing over the acronym. Let's talk about the behavior, which is we need to touch the organization in ways you're talking about, so we really understand what's going on with their people, process, and tools, and their outcomes, right?
Exactly. Yes. And especially with big corporations, right? When they have maybe an office in India and an office in the US and an office in Europe, and they all want to apply the same procedures and protocols and everything. It does not work because the culture and everything is different. And if you don't know that, and if you don't acknowledge that, then you will see that one company will not, or one department, let's say in one country, will not do the same as the other country.
Right. Now, you do a lot of mentoring. You do a lot of leadership development mentoring. Yeah. If you can, without naming names, love to be a fly on the wall where you're having a great conversation in a mentoring role with a leader. And what kind of conversations do you have? What are the challenges these people are facing? And how do you help them with those challenges?
It can be because a lot of leaders are usually busy with the finances. They don't really know about all their departments and security, what security can really do for their organization as a whole. What kind of, like, for instance, even education you have in that, what kind of people they have to attract for their type of company. And especially also that what I still unfortunately often see is that security is usually together with HR or with the cleaning services. It's not a separate department, and it's not sitting at a table with the C-suite. So they don't really understand what's going on and how you can better combine all that, because security is really the guy that needs to go, or the girl nowadays, thankfully, that goes to every department and goes sit there, has, drinks a cup of coffee, talks to the people, know what's going on, what's bothering them, what not, what they're up against, so they can, almost advise, let's say, because I see it as an advisor, the leader of the company, the CEO, about, hey, I am over every department here because, I encounter so many things, security or risk wise, and so many people. And this is what you need to know. And I see that it lacks oftentimes. As also, I miss the connection with the CEO to even his managers, because they're so busy with other things that they don't know how to almost direct certain tasks anymore for themselves. They are so used that it's being done for them.
Yeah.
Even their PAs usually are the ones that are talking to the managers, right?
Right.
It's not the CEO anymore. So even if he's going on a flight, he doesn't really know, the day before, his PA gives that CEO a ticket, maybe the hotel reservation, and says like, well, you have to be there and there, then and then, and here's your ticket. And so it's almost like they are not in control of their life anymore. And I see that they miss the connection sometimes, and they don't even realize that until they know that they are missing something, but they don't necessarily know what. But I also see a lot of CEOs, they start missing the connection with their families and friends. So the mentoring, what I do, goes a little further than just, their company. I help them explore. Almost, I bring them on a journey with me through their company. I show it through my eyes. I show them a way of also looking at it. And usually they get very enthusiastic about that, and it helps them connect not only with their family again, but also with their teams, and yeah, they get more involved.
It's that's fascinating. I used to say a good thing to do, and do it with yourself before you apply it to others, is look at your calendar and look at your checkbook, and you'll see what you value. And what you just said, it was so beautiful. It underlined that philosophy, because busyness keeps us from touching people in a way that can help us with that busyness. and right?
Yeah, but sometimes the identity of that CEO or leader was their company, and that has happened, especially in the last 1.5 years, for instance. What if your company didn't make it through this whole pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
So where is your identity now? Who are you? What do you want to do? What is your network worth, right? Or was it only connected to your business? So how are you going to live now? What is the meaning of you and your family?
Right.
Even about what's the meaning of your life in essence? Are you happy? How are you going to move on? And yeah, there were some worrying conversations really with people who've lost everything and were like, wow, that was really my identity. Now what? Right. So yeah, sometimes we just need someone. In my case, that was me, but of course there are amazing people
Right.
out there that helps them make that next step.
If you go to Miranda's website or LinkedIn, you'll see a whole list of things she focuses on. She calls it her core business. And you'll also see a host of things she gives. I just said you can see what someone values by their calendar and their checkbook. She's been an incredible servant to children in the CRI, or Children's Rescue Initiative, for example. And so I'm going to turn to the cobbler. If you've ever heard the story of the cobbler, Miranda, who is expert at actually building a shoe for another, and sometimes forgets to build it for himself or herself. How have you, as the expert in touch points in behavior, in this whole idea of intersection of roles and responsibilities, personal and professional, how have you taken care of yourself during this period?
Well, I believe I'm very, very blessed with a few really good friends. And, for everyone, it has been tough at moments. I think I am lucky, although I don't know if I can call it lucky. I have had in my youth a very, very challenging life. So I am really a survivor almost. It's one thing I help other people with, changing that mindset and move on and just still enjoy. Also, I have been lucky to still being able to work through this pandemic. So, and I truly, this is my passion. This is what I love doing most, helping others to become better and happier versions of themselves. So, yeah, I have to say I feel blessed. I have to say that sometimes I've even worked so hard that I had to stop and take some time for myself. But I do that actually. I love nature, and I do that with hikes and yeah, so I guess I'm good so far.
Well, I got to tell you, Miranda, the reason this is a great conversation for me, and I hope for others as well, is you can glean from your words and what you're doing that you really do love the journey of becoming more human. This has been a great conversation with Miranda Coppoolse from MC MC Consulting, Global Security Consulting. Miranda, thank you for a great conversation.
And thank you so much, Ron.